Hey guys, what's up? It's me again, Tom from TDT Tom's Tech Time. Today, let's throw a look at the 10 most common pilot errors. Actually, they are based on an official DJI list. And plus that, there is an extra that I want to add 3 more things that you could avoid to not crash your newly bought DJI Phantom 4. Enjoy the episode. The number 1 reason listed by DJI is actually quite easy to prevent. Have you ever heard of CSC? CSC stands for Combination Stick Command and is the key to turning your Phantom on or off. And usually you would only do that at the ground for sure, but sometimes it happens that some pilots do that while the copter is in air. Simply prevent doing the CSC command while the copter is in air, because even if the copter is in flight, you can turn it off and the result is clear. The Phantom falls out of the sky. So prevent this very movement while flying and you will save a lot of money. The second reason is actually one that you can avoid as well pretty easily. Only screw on your propellers correctly. Some pilots only, give them a shot and then they start the Phantom and then they wonder that one of the propellers shoots off in the air. Simply tighten them a little bit, and if you are the owner of a new DJI Phantom 4, DJI has added quick release propellers. As quick as you can release them, as quick you can put them on, and they are a lot safer. So if you want to purchase a new Phantom 4, a link can be found in the description. And otherwise, only don't forget to screw on the propellers tightly. The third most common pilot error can actually be avoided quite easy as well. Let's just imagine you flew your copter out quite a few meters and you then flew behind a house or a tree, and at that point the connection broke down. No worries, the return to home function takes over, and what it does, it raises up to a desired height and then travels home safely. But what happens if the desired height that you have set within the DJI Go app before isn't high enough and you crash against either the building or the tree? Yeah, well, the Phantom will crash. And to prevent that, only open up the menu within the DJI Go app and set a correct height, return to home height, before flying always. If you're flying in urban areas, with a permission only hopefully, set the return to home altitude a little higher, and when flying in a wide open field, 30, 40, 50 meters will already be enough. The fourth reason is actually connected with the batteries and the Smart Go Home function. At some point during the flight, you might be a couple of hundred of meters away from you. There might be a pop-up that says you have to return at this very point because otherwise you won't make it back home safely. Listen to that smart voice of your DJI Go app. It's really somewhat smart. Don't just cancel it and continue your flight, because otherwise, if you're traveling back, the Phantom won't make it back home safely probably. And there is one more thing that I want to tell you. If you are traveling with the wind away from you, you have to think of returning early enough, because the Phantom does know that there is something with the winds. It doesn't calculate that. But if the Phantom on the way back has to travel against the wind, that takes a lot more power. And of course, the battery will run out of power a lot earlier. So think of using the battery conservatively and you will stay safely and not crash. The fifth reason is not only foolish, but it's a criminal offense already in many countries. You are not allowed to fly out of sight. If you lose the eye contact with your Phantom, you can easily cause a lot of damage. You can, crash into power lines or trees or objects. And next to that, you always have to remember that you only see your camera's perspective. You do not see what's below the camera or what's above the camera or what's to the sides. Nothing like that. So only prevent flying out of sight and you will stay safe. The sixth reason is the only reason that ever brought down a Phantom of mine and cost me a goddamn propeller. Well, I was flying backwards and I flew over my head, and while the copter was over my head, at that very moment, I already knew that that was a very stupid idea of mine, because I didn't look out for the surroundings. And even though I hit the brakes and tried to fly forward, I crashed into a tree that was standing right behind me, because of course it takes the Phantom a few meters to stop and then fly to the other direction. And when I hit the control stick to the front again, it was already too late. So only keep an eye on the surroundings. Indoor flights can be quite tricky, and indoor flights are actually the number 7th most common pilot error that causes a Phantom to crash. Why are pilots actually crashing when flying indoors? First of all, they might not be trained enough. So if you want to fly indoors, first of all, go outdoors, choose a wide open field and fly within the A mode. A mode stands for ATTI, A-T-T-I. And if you turn that on, the Phantom will not connect with the GPS and GLONASS satellites, but it will only try to hold the height with an inbuilt barometer, and that is basically it. You will have to do everything else. So if a wind gust comes up, you will have to react with a remote controller. But if you practice flying in the A mode, you will end up as a way better pilot for indoor flying as well, and you can then start flying indoors with VPS and stuff like that enabled. Still, those are helping tools only, but you are the pilot and you are in charge. And if you don't know how to fly, better don't try to fly indoors at the first day after unboxing your Phantom. Hint number 8 doesn't always cause us to crash, but it can actually scare us to death. And when being scared to death, people and pilots and operators do not always act very smart, and then they cause a crash by, I don't know, doing some weird things with their copter and trying to save the copter, even though the copter is not in trouble. But what am I actually talking about? Once you are more than 20 meters away from the home point and you hit the low battery warning, a note pops up within the DJI Go app that asks you if you would like to initiate a return to home. And many pilots then decide to land the copter themselves though. And the one thing they forget about is that they forget to cancel the return to home. And once they have landed their gear, the copter immediately raises up again to the set return to home height and then initiates the landing again. Actually, it's quite safe, but the problem is that at the very second that the copter itself takes off, even if you've done nothing on your remote controller, that can really scare you to death, and some people get crazy with their remote controllers at that point. So if that happens, don't get crazy. Simply let the Phantom raise up again and it will simply land again. And if you want to make sure that doesn't happen, don't forget to ever cancel the return to home if you want to take over yourself. There is actually an easy way of preventing a signal loss from happening, and that is to choose the correct location. Don't fly near Wi-Fi antennas, near radio antennas, near cell phone towers. Never ever fly too close to power lines or something like that, and don't get too close to any magnetic fields that could cause interference with your compass. If you only keep that in mind and if you choose the correct location, many return to home situations could be avoided, and many flyaways as well. If the compass, for example, is confused, it can even cause a flyaway. So stay away from metal and stuff like that, and you will be safe again. DJI recommends not to fly too fast towards an object because, again, like within, I think, the hint number 6, if you're traveling too fast towards an object, you can't immediately hit the brakes. If you do so, the Phantom will continue its flight for a few meters, then stop and then return. If you do that and the obstacle is already in the way, you will of course cause a crash to happen. And to avoid that, never fly too fast. Keep in mind that there should be some space between the obstacles and the Phantom at all times, and you will stay safe. Let's jump into the additional DJI Phantom 4 hints of mine for you guys to fly your new gear safely. And those 3 hints are: if you're using the sport mode, remember that your DJI Phantom 4 travels at speeds up to 72 kilometers per hour, which is really, really fast. And keep in mind that stopping the Phantom takes even longer. The Phantom can glide up to 50 meters until it stops and hovers in air. So always have enough distance between obstacles and the Phantom. And even though that kind of sounds like I'm only repeating the last hint from the DJI list, I wanted to say that because the sport mode is more powerful than the Phantom 3 and stuff like that. And if you're only used to the normal flying modes, you should take special care when flying within the sport mode. My second hint is related to the newly invented obstacle sensing system that works as an anti-collision system. But keep in mind that the cameras are only located at the front and at the bottom of the Phantom, not at the sides and not at the back of the Phantom. Next to that, we should keep in mind that those sensors only work out well if flying during daytime, and they cannot stop the Phantom if you're flying too fast towards an object. So only during normal flying they can stop the Phantom. Next to that, they do not see small branches at all times and power lines, for example. So use that as an additional safety feature only, but stay a conservative pilot and don't get too crazy and never ever fly towards humans. That can easily cause a lot of damage. Now, how many times did I repeat that? But I think I made the point clear. My final safety hint for the DJI Phantom 4 is to be very, very conservative again with the enable fly backwards function or feature that is related to the active track mode. Please keep in mind that the Phantom does not feature any sensors at its back. So if there is anything behind it, a very tall person or a tree or a building, it will hit that immediately and without, I don't know, slowing down even. And that is a very easy way to lose your Phantom. Only use that backward flight mode when flying in wide open areas or over the sea or something like that. If you're, I don't know, sitting inside a boat, which might not happen each and every day. But that was my very last hint for the DJI Phantom 4. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you want to support my work, feel free to leave a donation at tomstechtime.com/donate. Please buy your DJI Phantom gear through the link that can be found in the description, or check out tomstechtime.com/deals. That way you support my work for free. Isn't that freaky? And DJI gets a little less. Finally, don't forget to subscribe, leave a thumb up, and if you have any questions left, check out facebook.com/groups/tomstechtime. That was the episode. Stay tuned. Fly safe.